Governing is about setting priorities, and unfortunately, the President's budget request for these agencies shows a failure to do so, in my opinion. The overall budget proposes spending that exceeds the budget caps established by the Budget Control Act of 2011 by about $74 billion. And one of the priorities the President often speaks about is about our nation's infrastructure. Yet despite all the proposed new spending and all that talk, this proposal cuts the Corps' budget by $751 million, or 14% below last year's actual spending level. This budget proposes cutting the Corps' funding to the actual level of spending in 2007. We're literally moving backward on an agency that's crucial to maintaining our country's infrastructure. The reason this is such a problem is that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers touches the lives of almost every American. The Corps maintains our inland waterways. It deepens and keeps our ports open. It looks after many of our recreational waters and land. It manages the river levels to prevent flooding. Its dams provide emission-free, renewable hydroelectric energy. All of these activities attract the intense interest of the American people and of their United States Senators. I can recall when I was a member of the Environmental and Public Works Committee, after a flooding of the Missouri and Mississippi rivers 4 years ago, a whole room full of Senators showed up to ask for more money to deal with what went wrong and what went right on the disaster relief efforts. So there is a real interest in these proposals. The reality is that for all the Corps does, there are many things it could do better, and setting priorities in our spending is one way to better invest taxpayer dollars. An important example of the Administration's failure to set priorities in my home state of Tennessee is the lack of funds of the President's request to start replacement of the Chickamauga Lock. Congress has done its job over the last couple of years, 3 years, to move ahead promptly on replacing Chickamauga Lock, and it's disappointing that the Administration has failed to do its job. Here's what we've done. Congress first passed a law that reduced the amount of money that comes from the Inland Waterway Trust Fund to replace Olmsted Lock, a project in Illinois and Kentucky that was soaking up almost all the money that's available for inland waterway projects. Second, Congress worked with the commercial waterways industry to establish a priority list for projects that needed to be funding, on which Chickamauga Lock ranks near the top in 4th place. And third, just this past year, working together, we enacted a user fee increase that commercial barge owners asked to pay in order to provide more money to replace locks and dams across the country, including Chickamauga Lock. These are 3 extremely important steps to give our country the inland waterways that we need. These 3 things taken together should make it possible for the Corps of Engineers to move rapidly to begin to replace Chickamauga Lock. The problem with Chickamauga Lock is it's made of aging concrete. It could fail if we don't replace it. In fact, in October of last year, the lock was closed for several days. It was closed to all of navigation traffic for emergency repairs after an inspection revealed cracks in the concrete. The project's not just important to Chattanooga, but to all of eastern Tennessee because of the number of jobs affected. We're almost out of time for a solution. The lock could close in a few years until progress is made. That would throw 150,000 trucks on Interstate 75. It would increase the cost of shipping to the Oak Ridge, to the National Laboratory, and to the weapons areas, and to manufacturers across the state. So you can see how Chickamauga Lock and other projects like it across the country ought to be a priority, and why the Corps budget should make it a priority. In addition to the Corps, we fund the Bureau of Reclamation. The Bureau of Reclamation delivers water to 1 in 5 Western farmers, irrigating 10 million acres of some of the most productive agricultural land in the world. I would note this is the first time Commissioner Lopez and Secretary Gimbel have appeared before this subcommittee, and we welcome them both. Without the infrastructure that these 2 agencies provide, our nation would be vastly different. With that in mind, we are here today to discuss the Administration's fiscal year 2016 budget request for both agencies. I will look forward to the testimony. Before I turn to Senator Feinstein for her statement, I would like to note that this is Roger Cockrell's last hearing, at least the last one he will attend in his capacity with us as a staff member of the Appropriations Committee. He is retiring at the end of the month, and we are going to miss him. For the past 14 budget cycles, Senators on the subcommittee, whether Republicans or Democrats, have been well served by Roger's expertise on both the Corps of Engineers and the Bureau of Reclamation. It's hard to think of anyone inside or outside Washington who matches Roger in knowledge or experience. Hard to think of a water resources bill that hasn't benefited from his guidance. So, Roger, on behalf of the subcommittee, I wish to thank you for your service over these many years and to wish you and your family the best in your retirement.